Welcome back to another video. Last time we covered Absolute Superman in my video detailing the entire Absolute universe. We only went over the first part of Absolute Superman's story, but more issues have dropped since then, so I thought it'd be a good time to do a quick recap and update you all on his journey. For a more detailed retelling of his story, I recommend you watch that video. Now let's get into it. In this universe, there's no Clark Kent. Superman, Kal-El, grew up on Krypton with his mother, Lara, his father, Jor-El, and their dog Krypto. Krypton is divided by class, and Kal-El's family belongs to the Labor Guild, the lowest in society. Everyone wears their class symbol on their chest. That's where the S comes from. One day at work, Kal-El's father discovered that Krypton was dying. He and Lara began working on a plan to save the planet. Their idea, an all-in-one AI spaceship and spacesuit named Sol, which Lara had built when she was younger. Jor-El tried to warn the clerics, the ruling council, about Krypton's fate, but they reprimanded him and threw him in jail. Kal-El told his mother, and together they suited up to break him out. While Lara freed Jor-El, Kal-El hacked into the central terminal and discovered the clerics already knew about Krypton's impending destruction. They had even built secret spaceships for themselves. Kal-El leaked the truth to the public, and the El family became the most wanted criminals on Krypton. Still, they continue building Sol, gathering as many people as they could. As Krypton exploded, they launched Sol, but debris struck the ship, breaking it into individual pods. After several more explosions, Kal-El was the only one who survived. He drifted through space for 17 months until Sol located Earth. Kal-El crash-landed on the farm of Martha and Jonathan Kent, two struggling farmers whose land was suffering a drought while neighboring farms still received rain. They needed a miracle, and Kal-El was it. Sol shut down and wrapped itself around his body. Jonathan believed Kal-El was dangerous, while Martha thought he was the angel they'd been praying for. They took care of him as if he were their own. When Kal-El finally woke up, he was reminded of home, so he chose to stay. He couldn't speak English at first, but to the Kents, he was already their son. Eventually, Sol rebooted, downloaded the English language, and Kal-El was able to speak with them. But their peaceful life didn't last long. Kal-El was reported to the Lazarus Corporation as an alien. The corporation came to the farm to arrest him. The situation reminded Kal-El of Krypton's corrupt leaders, and so he flew away. He spent the next few years protecting the vulnerable all around the world. The Lazarus Corporation's soldiers, known as peacemakers, eventually tracked Kal-El down after he overslept following a mission helping civilians in Brazil. Tired of running, Kal-El decided to fight back. The peacemakers nearly defeated him, but he refused to go down easily. This is where Lois Lane enters the story. She handcuffed him, demanding he surrender. In this universe, Lois is a special agent of the Lazarus Corporation. Her father is a retired general of the Peacemakers, but more on him later. While Sol tried to break Kal-El free from the handcuffs, the Peacemakers opened fire. Despite Lois being cuffed to him, Kal-El shielded her from the bullets and continued saving nearby civilians, an act that revealed his humility. Lois began to wonder who he really was. However, Kal-El wasn't eager to share. As soon as Sol unlocked the cuffs, he flew away. Lois Lane launched a full investigation into Superman, but every move she made was being watched by Brainiac, who oversees the Lazarus Corporation's operations. During her investigation, Lois encountered one of the Omega Men, a resistance group fighting against everything Lazarus Corp stands for. The Omega Men are also responsible for crippling Lois's father, so tensions ran high. Naturally, she and Omega Alpha clashed. He tried to explain their cause, but Lois wasn't having it. The confrontation escalated into a fight, one rooted in conflicting ideals and what each side believes they're doing for the world. That's when Superman showed up and broke it up, telling Lois to stop following him. Meanwhile, a peacemaker named Christopher Smith crossed a line Superman couldn't ignore. Smith, heavily influenced by Brainiac, killed over 20 innocent people, just because they laughed at him after Superman had frozen him earlier. Enraged, Superman went on a rampage hunting Smith down. Brainiac offered to reveal Smith's location if Superman agreed to meet, but before that meeting, we learn who Brainiac really works for, Ra's al Ghul, who believes that salvation will only come when Superman kneels at his feet. We also learn that Martha Kent is still alive and living in a senior facility in Smallville. Her old house is now owned by the Lazarus Corporation. Lois visits her, hoping to uncover more information about Superman. This is where my previous video left off. The next issue opens with a strike team from the Omega Men infiltrating Brainiac's headquarters, attempting to shut down his servers, but they stood no chance in Brainiac's territory. One by one, they're dismantled while Brainiac hijacks their communications, shrinking and melting their bodies, killing 3 and dismembering the 4th. Inside his lab, we see Brainiac working on someone who's still alive. His monitors are filled with images of Superman. It's clear that not knowing Superman's true identity is eating away at him. As time passes, both Ra's al Ghul and Brainiac grow increasingly impatient. We then get Brainiac's origin origin story. He was unit number 419,732 in a long line of Brainiacs. His sole purpose was to serve the collective by shoveling discarded Brainiac bodies into a liquidator. He was never meant to leave the room he woke up in, and he did this mindless task for 49,000 days, until the insanity set in. Eventually, when there was no more bodies to shovel, he ventured out and discovered the Brainiac who had activated him was now dead. Standing alone on the ship, he screamed, "I am Brainiac," and promoted himself. He stared at the stars for days, reveling in his newfound identity. Back in the present, Brainiac calls a meeting with the collective, asking if they have any data on Superman. He presents a sample of Superman's red dust. One of the collective traces it back to Krypton, explaining how the planet exploded and how they collected samples from a radioactive Kryptonian meteor. This discovery excites Brainiac. He finally has an edge over Superman. He recreates the radioactive substance, this universe's version of kryptonite, and the person he's been working on, Peacemaker Christopher Smith. Brainiac begins upgrading him with advanced armor, turning him into a weapon designed to take Superman down. Next, we see the Omega Men battling Ra's al Ghul. All the while, Ra's is calmly on the phone with his investors, explaining how he got here. After 200 years, he transformed Metropolis from a crumbling frontier town into the city of tomorrow. He tells them he never thought he'd live to see his ultimate goal come true, resurrecting the world. The Omega Men continue fighting, but one by one they fall. One is even thrown into a Lazarus pit, and when revived is turned into a baby. Ra's picks up the baby, throws it off a balcony, and casually says, "My only regret is that I have no son to carry this out." Well, not yet anyway. He ends the call with his shareholders, declaring, "Lazarus means hope." We then shift to Kal-El visiting Martha Kent in the senior living facility. As he gives her a gift, she panics, screaming, "Who are you?" She doesn't remember him. Kal-El flees in pain. While walking through Kansas, both Omega Alpha and Lois Lane approach him. He stops them with, "Whatever you want, the answer's no." Lois insists she's here alone, not as a Lazarus agent. Omega Alpha scoffs, telling Lois that if she thinks Lazarus doesn't know where she is, then she underestimates what Brainiac's algorithms are capable of. Lois reminds Alpha that she knows exactly what the Omega Men are capable of. Her father was crippled by them. As the two argue, Superman disappears from sight, silently watching them. Lois begins to talk about all the good Kal-El has done over the years. She knows why he always returns to Kansas. It's his home, and Lazarus took that away. Ever since, Kal has been searching for a new one. She asks, "Are you still here?" Before he can respond, Alpha interrupts, explaining that Lazarus bought up every inch of Kansas just so they could shut it down. He lists the corporation's atrocities and throws it in Lois's face. That's who you serve. As they argue, Superman reveals himself and finally tells them why he's here. Peacemaker Smith. Right then, Superman is shot by a green bullet. It pierces his suit. Peacemakers rain down from the sky. Chaos erupts. Lois and Alpha argue about what to do, but eventually work together to get Kal-El to safety. The upgraded Smith arrives, now clad in Brainiac-enhanced armor. The Peacemakers follow Superman's blood trail. Lois and Alpha drag him into a drugstore, where Saul tries to remove the kryptonite bullet, but it's no use. Smith tracks them, following the bullet's signal. He crashes through the store, grabs Superman, and throws him like a ragdoll. "Who's laughing now?" he taunts. Superman tries to fight back, but the bullet is weakening him, and Smith's upgrades give him the advantage. Superman is overwhelmed, easily taken down. Lois draws her weapon and demands that Smith be arrested, but Smith warns her that she'll end up in a cell if she doesn't stand down. Even citizens from Kansas come to defend Superman, telling the Peacemakers, "This is our town." Superman throws another punch, this time finally hitting Smith. His suit begins to transform, surging with energy. He unlocks tornado mode, causing red dust to explode everywhere, knocking almost everyone back. Superman tries to get Smith to stand down, but Smith refuses and shoots Superman 2 more times with radioactive bullets. Just as Smith is about to shoot him in the head, Brainiac deactivates his implants. They want Superman alive. Lois and Alpha rush to Superman's side. Lois insists they need to get him to a hospital, but Alpha reminds her that everything for Miles is owned by Lazarus. Kal-El just wants to get out of there. He appoints Alpha to take charge and radios the Omegas, saying he needs a boom. A blue portal opens. They rush Superman through it, but Omega Prime says Lois can't come with them, leaving her behind for the Peacemakers to deal with. In their lab, the Omegas try to remove the kryptonite bullets from Superman. They manage to extract one, but the other 2 are lodged between his ribs, and most of their equipment was destroyed. Kal-El says he'll do it himself. After he removes one, he tells them he couldn't do it again without passing out. Prime tells them to get the box, though the others are skeptical, still unsure of what it truly is. Nevertheless, they retrieve the box and use it on Superman. Meanwhile, Lois is in a holding cell. She is visited by Ra's al Ghul, who's there to remind her of her allegiance, forcing her to say the entire vow aloud. But Ra's makes it clear if she steps out of line again, he won't just disable her father, he'll kill him with his own hands. He wants her to fulfill her duty and bring him his son. Weeks later, we see Superman and the Omega Men attacking a Lazarus Corp embassy. Kal-El warns Primus to stop using deadly deadly force, or she'll regret that she ever saved his life. Superman quickly takes down the soldiers, but suddenly a massive metal hand grabs him. Then two huge robots known as Peacemechs attempt to split Superman in half. So we flash back to a conversation between Superman and Alpha about the box. Kal-El asks what he knows about it. Some say it's from space, but Primus claims it's from God. Kal-El says it's called the Father Box. It spoke to him while it was removing the third bullet, not with words, but with fire, showing him what this world could become. Fire pits the size of oceans, endless slums tormenting the masses. He asks Alpha if he trusts Primus. Then he asks Alpha, revealed to be Jimmy Olsen, who are you really? Why do you want to be an Omega Man? Jimmy replies, he wants to be able to tell his kids that when the world went to hell, he actually did something. He didn't want to stand around while people were fighting. But to his question, if Jimmy was really him, he wouldn't trust anyone on the planet. The Peacemakers had labeled protesters as terrorists for calling for the arrest of Peacemaker Smith. They were planning to go to liberate the people there, and Superman volunteered to go with them. However, he refused to allow any killing. She says the box saved him for a reason. The Omegas had bigger plans for him. Back in the present, Superman destroys the mechs. However, Sol warns Kal-El that the box is dangerous. Superman has never heard Sol sound like this. He sounds frightened, warning him about what this corrupt world might do to him. Superman tells Sol he's tired of people telling him what to do and tells him to shut up as he explodes with energy. Sol disables voice mode. Jimmy sees Superman going a little overboard and asks if he's okay. Kal-El is focused on the mission and they continue to search for the prisoners. Unfortunately, they've arrived too late. The prisoners were seen hanging from the ceiling. Now they're surrounded by Peacemakers. Alpha tells Primus to open a boom, but she isn't listening. She attacks the Peacemakers. She almost shoots one of them, but after they go through the portal, it's revealed Superman stopped the bullet. Superman tells himself he needs to get away from the Omegas, to a place where no one can find him. He's losing himself. He hesitated when saving the Peacemaker. Meanwhile, Prime is furious. She can't understand why Superman is pulling his punches. Superman tells her to stop talking. However, in the chaos, they didn't seem to notice that they left a man behind, Omega Alpha, who was captured and is now being interrogated by Lois Lane, wanting to know everything he knows about Superman. Well, that's it for today's video. You're all caught up. If you enjoy this type of content, hit the like and subscribe buttons. If you all keep showing love on these videos, I'll keep making them.